It's a Friday
Yeah.
I wish.
You can believe that.
I really I did 3 hours.
Raise these chairs.
Tom has to be good.
Oh.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're gonna call this regular board meeting Friday, May 24th, 2024 to order at 5:30 p.m. The minutes, we all have received their email. They're in the packet.
Motion to approve.
All right, it's been motion and second to approve, all in favor? And next, we're on the part of the program where we come to public comments. We will allow public comments, but I would remind everyone, there will be no rebuttals. We will only listen to your comments. They are not falling on deaf ears.
There was no place to sign up for anything.
So
do we just ask?
Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. We didn't ask because we knew it would be a lot. It was a sheet out there, but I don't know if the sign-in sheet was for comments or not. But we will definitely have to stick to our 2-minute rule. So what I'll do in all fairness, I'll just go row by row, okay? I'm a school teacher, okay? And that way it'll keep you from having to hold your hand up to your arm falls off, okay? And we'll go ahead and start in the front of the room, first row.
Thank you. I want to say that I was just really elated on Tuesday that those people who decided that, they found their civic responsibility somehow and they went out and they voted, and those who voted early as well. However, it just wasn't enough of them for me. We got over 100,000 folks registered, and that was really pitiful, and we really need to do better. And so I think all of us are encouraged to keep moving and work on that. My concerns were received in phone calls and people stopping by our voter information site on that day and prior to that, and they were saying that there were some difficulties, some scary kinds of things happening with them as they try to exercise their right. Some were given the wrong ballot. Some things were corrected, some were not. Prior to that, the people complained about the distance from the door here into to vote. And those are legitimate concerns. As an elected member of the commission, we are committed to supporting easy access to voting. And I can't speak for everybody else, but I am going to commit again my support for whatever efforts you need to make to fix these problems, because people are not happy about it. They're feeling fearful of the process, and we certainly don't want our citizens to feel like this right, that's a God-given right, has somehow been usurped or threatened. And so I'm pledging today my support for whatever measures. I'm sure you've received the concerns as well, the distance here and all of the other things, but the most concerning is the fact that some people were given the wrong ballot. That needs to be corrected immediately. The ADA, the disability requirements, that has to be corrected immediately. So I would just encourage you to get busy on it, and we will support you from the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the first row? Second row? I didn't see this name.
Yes, ma'am. The sticker says, "I am a Georgia voter. I secured my vote." but that was not the case for early voting and election day from April 29th to 2024 through May 21st, 24, and it still is not secure. Free and fair elections are a fundamental component of political freedom. There is more to democracy than free and fair elections, but there can be no democracy without them. Constant vigilance is required to protect this fundamental component of political freedom, from which the threats arrayed against it, which range from old-fashioned fraud on election day to media manipulation and regulatory obstacles during the campaign period. Safeguarding our election ensures voting integrity, that every vote is counted as cast. This did not happen. The voter integrity of the voting system in Macon, Georgia was compromised by cyber attacks, digital election interference, incorrect combination assignments, voting irregularities, unconstitutional violations of voting system security measures by allowing unauthorized access to secure voting system rooms on election night. Ms. Amanda from the Macon-Bibb Republican Party, to ADA regulations for accessibility and voter education, not maintaining physical security access controls, voter fraud, discriminatory systems, candidate intimidation and harassment, and hostile and unsafe conditions of election employees, poll workers, and campaigning candidates. Where is the justice?
Time. Anyone on the second row?
Hi, my name is Brian, candidate for District 8, and a lot of the citizens told me that they went to vote for me and my name was not on the ballot. The new map shows that Burke City, off of Heron and Mallet should be in District 8, but they were voting in District 5 on the District 5 ballot. Had an 82-year-old lady that said she will not come back to vote again because she feels like that she has lost her chance to vote for the person that she wanted to. A lot of people said that they did not vote for me because my name was not on the ballot. They had to write my name in. Some people at Beulah Baptist Church were not allowed to go in and vote for me because it was blocked off. But the voting system should be on integrity, and we should allow people to speak and vote for the people who they want to. I'm in a runoff now, probably because of some of the votes that I did not get. And then they got me in a runoff with a criminal. They checked Shakita Maxwell's background. Did anybody check my opponent's background? Here you go. She didn't turn in none of her paperwork. I brought it to Tom Gillens. I brought it to his attention. He never discussed it. Here you go. So where you can see my financial report and you can see my CCDR, why nobody else had to turn theirs in? So did we find them? No, we did not find them. They said the computer was down due to a cyber attack. So for me, I have been, y'all have kind of ousted me and haven't done the right thing about letting voters vote for me. So I hope that y'all will not certify this election.
Next person.
Amanda Prettyman, and I would just ask that, I understand that 5 of the 7 early voting cards were unable to be read by the card reader that read the first 2. And so I commend the board and the workers for staying till 3 in the morning and scanning the ballots for that. But I would ask that some sort of root cause analysis be done for the cards to understand what happened so that we can improve or mitigate whatever caused it in the future.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, just a point of information. I see on the agenda that there's a period for public comment at the end. Can I have reserved until that time? Thank you.
Can I use the rest of 2 minutes at the second point?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I just want to thank the poll workers that were at my precinct. They were very helpful, very professional. I had lots of questions concerning the ballots because I wanted to make sure I had the correct one. They went beyond what I would have expected from beginning when I walked in and when I left. And I just want to make sure that they are to be commended for the job well done in my precinct.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Even Snyder, I just want to mention that the signage at this building is terrible.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I just want to mention that the distance from the parking lot to this is still.
Two terrible things right there.
Good evening.
I just want to first say, I want to thank our full poll workers, the board members, and the workers that we worked with on the next day. I want to thank you all for that, and you have the NOCP support. But we want to make sure that because during early voting and election day, people receive the incorrect ballot. I think about 6 out of 9 districts had the wrong ballot. And it didn't matter whether it's one person that received the incorrect ballot, that person were not able to vote for the person that they want to vote, which is not the case. Myself received the wrong ballot for my state representative. As of today, it's showing that I received the right ballot, but after I questioned it, but as today, they have a Republican that's on my, the Secretary of State, showing on the Secretary of State website, so that is not correct. But I want to make sure that we do not certify this election, because if we do, then it does not represent democracy. We really don't know how many people did not vote for the correct person of receiving the incorrect ballots. But we know the reports that we received was a lot of voters that did not receive the incorrect ballot. Also, in making sure that this building is handicap accessible. The board members themselves have spoke about it. We have spoke about it. Ms. Lucas and I came out last year, some other members talked about it being handicap accessible. Beulah Baptist Church was barricaded so people could not vote. I was there that morning. And the workers moved the barricade so people could vote in the county. I found out it was not the state that actually started the construction, it's actually Bibb County that barricaded the church where people couldn't go in to vote. So they could not go in to vote. So people were not even able to vote in District 5 that could have been able to vote. We stayed there, called pastor to make sure Georgia Power got out there. There were lines out where people could not actually vote. This is not democracy. We cannot allow one person to not be able to vote for the right person that they need to vote in. Certifying the election is not democracy. We need to not certify it. Even runoffs, people would not be in runoff if they probably would not have voted in the incorrect ballot.
Thank you.
My name is Kim Jenkins. I am one of the commissioners running for District 8. I'm here about the matter of hand. I did get phone calls during the time of election stating that they were being redirected to other polls. It could have been they in the wrong district, but one of my neighbors who called me, who lived literally around the corner from me, was at Fall Line Church and was being redirected. And I'm in District 8. We live in the same neighborhood. So I know for sure that she was, my name was not on the ballot because she called me while she was there at Fall Line Church. Excuse me. Myself and my family, we went to Buddha Land and it was absolute chaos there, complete mess. I'm not sure what you would do to go by fixing these issues. Also, in campaign, we offered ballots, absentee ballots for the elderly, because there were several elderly who were looking to vote for me, who stated that they had already seen on the news that it was not handicap accessible. So they refused to come in altogether. I think that needs to be addressed and taken care of. Now, when it comes to, certifying this election, I'm okay in a runoff, regardless if my opponent finds it a reason to constantly attack me, but we're not here for that. Good shot, bad moment. However, I think these things need to be addressed, every one of them. The elderly should be able to have, clear accessibility to come in here to vote with no problem. Nobody should be dealing with voter, suppression, none whatsoever. The ballots need to be correct. There's also some ballots that had names circled. To me, that draws attention to that particular name to vote for that individual. These are things that need to be corrected. How it goes by being corrected, I am not 100% sure. I'm here to express my concerns.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be short and to the point. Good evening, I'm Renata Scott, and I'm asking that due to the numerous errors and mishap and misinformation given from the Board of Elections, how long the process would take in order to fix the ballot mishaps. I had people that were in La Vella that were saying I was on their ballots. And then I had someone give me a call and say, hey, those votes won't count. The only votes that would count are from your district. So I'm asking for this election process to be reviewed, reassessed, and our voting procedure, and nullify the current election and start over.
Thank you. Next one.
I'm Chris Barfield, I ran for District 7 County Commissioner.
We will not have crosstalk. I will have you removed. We will have an orderly session. Thank you. Sorry, sir.
I'm Chris Barfield, I ran for District 7 County Commissioner. My first time in politics, and it's dirty, very dirty. On both sides, and we should all be ashamed, we really should. The citizens have a right to vote and pick who they want to without intimidation and without the games. In my district right here where she was talking about, Bill Howell had his name changed from William Lee Howell to Bill Howell. They put that in every single ballot box and circled it and highlighted it in red. So if I walk into a booth and I don't know who to vote for, the first thing I see is his name. I match it up, boom, I'm gone. It's not fair. There's all kinds of stuff that's been going on, some dirty stuff I don't want to bring back up. The people been watching this on the news. You need to cancel this whole thing and start over and set the same rules for everybody. And we need to do it today. Because we have just basically slapped all the citizens in the face and said, we don't care who you vote for. We're gonna do what we want to do. We don't own this thing. The citizens do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Christy Barfield. I was actually called by some of my neighbors that live in District 7, and they too went to the ballot box and wanted to know why Bill Howell's name was changed to Bill Howell in the ballot box in red and circled in red. Apparently there was another fellow that was running for a different district, he had a state representative. His was on a different sheet of paper at the bottom of the ballot box. Now, why can't they be on the same piece of paper and just regular writing to say this name has been changed? Because when you go to to sign the affidavit in when you're running, you have to sign an affidavit how you want your name to be put on the election ballot. If it was done that way and he's already run this beforehand, fix it, you know? There's no excuse for anything to be wrong in this day and age as far as elections. Pardon me.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, esteemed members of the commission, my name is Peter Simmons. I'm the Georgia State Policy Strategist for Protect Democracy. We're a nonpartisan nonprofit dedicated to defending the rule of law, defeating the authoritarian threat, and protecting our democratic institutions. I've come here today to express concern about many of the calls for the board to refuse to certify. OCGA 212493K sets a clear deadline for Monday at 5 p.m. after the election is held for the superintendent to certify the results. Additionally, 212493I states that if any fraud or error is discovered, the superintendent shall certify justly and alert the district attorney. This creates an completely unambiguous and clear mandate for the board to certify this election and properly escalate it to the authorities who will do what they need to do to ensure that everyone here does receive their proper democratic franchise rights without disrupting the election results and providing additional ammunition for election deniers to draw unfounded and dangerous, create unfounded and dangerous accusations about the integrity of our election process, about your integrity, and about the state's work and their ability to administrate elections effectively. Thank you. So sorry. In addition, there are remedies available that do not include refusing to certify. If I'm not mistaken, 212521 authorizes any candidate of a primary or an election or any aggrieved elector to file for a petition to contest the election results within 5 days of certification. Additionally, any candidate who is lost by, I believe, less than 0.5% is entitled to request a recount within 2 business days of certification. Those are your remedies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm not trying to repeat the same information that my opponent Chris repeated from District 7. I'm Macon-Bibb. I ran in that race as well. My wife went and voted that morning, and the same thing he said with William Lee Howell and Bill Howell. It was sitting out in every voter view highlighted in red. When my wife came home and told me that, I had voted early, but when she came and told me that it was on election day, I honestly was appalled. And I had to actually call y'all to verify that information, because I'm like, I know it not only was sitting there in the booth, but highlighted in red as well. Like they said, if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna circle somebody in red drops out at you no matter where you see. That's why we have red stoplights. When something is in red like that, that shows, I mean, I'll pop to say, okay, well, let me check that name. So, and then secondly, not only for District 7, I have a lot of friends and coworkers that stay across the county. Had a lot of them calling me that was not in my district. And it's like, hey, I'm in District 8, but I got a District 5 ballot. I'm in this district, but I got a District 6 ballot. And they checked my voter page, and my voter page confirmed that they was in the district that they thought it was in, but they got the wrong district ballot. And then 2 of them told me, an election worker told them, since they cast the ballot, there was nothing they can do about it. So I don't understand that simply because somebody cast an incorrect ballot, I don't know how that was stand. That's just me, so. But that's what I was told. They said the election worker said they cast the ballot, even though it was incorrect, if they cast it, it was nothing they could do about it. And then I did have a few that also said they didn't have a commission race on their ballot period, which I didn't understand because the mayor and sheriff was on the race. But they said, Michael, I didn't have a commission race in there. And like I said, now I will say that those folks, they're not in my district. These was not District 7 folks. This was just people across the county who told me that.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is George Thomas, and I was District 6 County Commission candidate. So myself, I received an incorrect ballot and had to alert the poll worker to change that. And also, in the week before early voting started, checking my voter page on the Secretary of State website, my commission district was wrong. And in Hazard 2, the whole Hazard 2 was in District 6, and so it's that's something that's unacceptable. Also, my opponent received the wrong ballot as well and had to get his fixed. And also, I don't want to repeat the same thing everybody else has. Hazard 2, there were complaints on the voter signage to find the precinct for people that just now that don't know their way around Lake Wildwood to get in. It was okay from Thompson Road entrance, but from Lamar Road, they had problems finding. So that's all.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is George Avery. My point of the whole thing is we have failed our system. We failed the citizens of Bibb County, Macon, period. We fail our kids because we are out here doing stuff that is not correct. When you have somebody that is threatening people, that is a no-no. We had, several people received threats. Nothing was done. I came all the way from Atlanta to Macon, and I still reside, I came from my job, I work in Atlanta. But the thing of it is, we got to just throw this away, don't even count it, redo it. We had people that you let two candidates, you told them they couldn't run for sheriff because they didn't have their paperwork in time. If you set a date for them to have their stuff in there, that's the date you're supposed to do it. If you're show up in court, if the judge say May the 29th at 9 o'clock, you're gonna be in there. So let's do it right, people. Dismiss this one and do it all over again. Like I said, y'all can, if a child gets shot on the street, you out there on the news with them. But why you ain't on the news fighting for what you're supposed to be fighting for? This is our rights. We have a right to vote, not for somebody to tell us who to vote for, like they did some of the other people here.
Yes.
No. Let these people vote for who they want to vote for. Stop the threats. Because if you threaten me, I'm going to have to take it to another level. And you're sending messages on a fake Facebook page, threatening people, negative. And I've contacted the feds because that is a threat. You're going to take somebody's life? You're going to threaten their family? No. You get locked up for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, so we do have a session at the end for public comment. We are now down to the section that says new business. Mr. Nolan.
Certification. If the gentleman who spoke in the back sort of stole my thunder. Everything he said is right. I may have some qualms with the idea that this is a situation where you report it to the district attorney, but certification is mandated by the code. But as the gentleman pointed out, there are remedies that are triggered by certification. So I was obviously hearing what's being said. It is my understanding from having done this for a long time and having researched it that you all cannot order a deadly stop. And you certify, and then there are procedures that can take place in court. And I know maybe that's more than what anyone asked me, but I figured those questions are covered. So my legal opinion is that we're required to certify by the deadline, and then whatever happens after that, everyone has the right to do what the law says.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to certify the election.
There's been a motion made to certify the election. Is there a second?
Right.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'm going to vote certify because Mr. Nolan said this is a ministerial duty. It's not something that we have discretion on. And for people who think that there is something that affects an outcome improperly, there are remedies available under the law. But in voting for certification, I do not want to give the impression that I think that everything went well with this election. We have to do better. And we have a runoff coming up on June 18th, and we have to do better right then. We've got some issues that we need to fix. On the next agenda item, I will speak to some of the things that I see with that regard. But we have to do better than we did this week. Thank you.
I agree with everything.
All right, yeah, in doing some research, as a chair and talking with different people, unfortunately, that's just something that we can't do. There are processes behind the scenes that can take place. And we would invite all of you, again, this is our city too, we live here too, so we would invite everybody to be dedicated and help us to get where we need to go. Any further discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor of certifying the election? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nays? The ayes have it, the election will be certified, and again, there are processes that you can go through to remedy some of the situations. The election remarks by our election supervisor, Thomas Dillon.
Based on the results of the races, we are going to have a runoff. That will be June the 18th, I believe. We will have probably about a week of early voting. We will have early voting here and at the Elaine Lucas Senior Center down at Central City Park, Carolyn Creighton Central City Park. And that location has much better access for those who can't walk quite as far as it is to our office. We'll get the exact date as soon as we can. It depends on when the state can get us the election materials and when we can make the equipment ready, but probably around the 10th. Is what we're aiming for. I think that's the last day we can do it. Coming before then, we're gonna have the risk limiting audit that follows every election now. That will take place a week from yesterday, Thursday, where the state randomly picks a number of polling places and absentee ballot batches, and we hand count the results to make sure that they match what the QR code says. And every time we've done it in the past, it's been 100% match. I don't expect it to be any different this time. That's all.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So what date do you anticipate early voting starting?
I think the deadline is the 10th. The last day to start early voting.
Okay.
If we can get started before then, I think that's the Monday.
Are we going to have any Saturday or Sunday voting?
Unknown right now. It depends on how long it takes to get the equipment, how long it takes the state to get us the software, and how long it takes us to get the equipment ready.
Question for Mr. Nolan.
Yes.
So I'm looking at section 22-2-385, paragraph D1, B, with regard to weekend voting. And I see here it says that early voting shall end on the Friday immediately prior to each primary, but it also calls for in one-off periods, Saturday voting on the second and third Saturdays, as well as optional Sunday voting at the discretion of the election superintendent. So I'm seeing a contradiction there that I'm having trouble squaring, and I'm hoping that you can help me out with that.
And so the different provisions you are talking about are, Mr. Allen, do you remind me?
22-2-385,
D1.
B.
As soon as, let's see, there shall be a period of advance voting that shall commence as soon as possible prior to a runoff from any general primary or election, but no later than the second Monday immediately prior to such runoff, which I believe is the 10th, which is what Tom said. And in conflict with which provisions are
Voting should be conducted beginning at 9 a.m. and ending at 5 p.m. on weekdays. During such period, it shall be conducted on the second and third Saturdays during the hours of 9 a.m. through 5 p.m. And if the registrar or absentee ballot clerk so chooses, the second Sunday, the third Sunday, or both the second and third Sundays prior to the primary or election during the hours determined by the registrar or absentee ballot clerk.
I don't think it's mandatory in this.
I'm sure that's true. I'm just kind of looking at language here. I think maybe this, we can talk afterwards. More time, or I can look at this.
Well, I mean, if we're going to take action as a board on this matter, this is the time to do it.
And the question is,
my question is, are we in compliance if there's not Saturday voting? And I see a little bit of a conflict in there because there's a statement about when early voting has to end, but there's also a statement about when Saturday voting shall take place. And I mean, the alternative I can think of, which is, I'm comfortable having a special call meeting if we need the attorney to spend some time researching this and giving us an answer, but we need to maximize access to the franchise here. If I looked at the numbers for Sunday voting this time around. So the 109, and on the day before Saturday, there were 215, but bear in mind, there's a difference there in that we had 3 locations up and running.
And how many precincts are running?
And we're dealing with, so basically, Sunday voting, if you're looking at the rate of voters coming in, voting on that day during that 4-hour period, it's roughly the same as what we're seeing across 3 polling places over an 8-hour period prior to that. So I think that we've got evidence of some demand for that. I think the question is, what does the law allow us to do?
Shall be conducted on the second and third Saturdays during the hours of 9 a.m. through 5 p.m.
Make sure you're not addressing federal elections as well.
This is from the state code.
I understand. They also deal with federal elections. Federal elections are different from state elections. Federal election mandates, state elections, you know.
Let's back it up. I will try to not have y'all have to have a special call meeting, but I will be looking at this.
Okay, but I mean, of course, we're talking about the Saturday being mandated. That's the thing that's used.
I agree with what you're saying, that section says, and it says including Saturday.
The second Saturday or 8, and the third Saturday would be the 18th. Because actually, they should go to the 18th, right? And the thing that
So we
is,
start, you come on having Saturday, June 15th, so we couldn't have it then, that's after. You can't have it then. There's no Saturday.
And the other code mentions 2, with regard to runoffs. So I think we've got the conundrum there.
so that's, I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
With the state code mentioning, there's not a Saturday included in the early voting as far as we have it on our paper. So what I would like for you to do, sir,
We can vote, I don't think there ever has been.
and we won't, because we owe it to the citizens of Bibb County, we won't say we don't know. What we'll do is we'll refer this to our attorney, William Knowles, and have him reach out to the Secretary of State's office ASAP, get us an answer. If we need a call meeting, we'll have a call meeting, but we owe it to our citizens to make sure and not say, we don't know.
I'll get you
Thank you for that. I have some other questions on the conduct of the upcoming election that are related to the conduct of the election we held this Tuesday in the early voting period. We have numerous credible reports that there were problems with voters being placed in the wrong districts. And that simply cannot be. Again, we need to fix that. That's not a November problem, that's a right now problem.
That's the point. No, you can't have a vote from the floor, I'm sorry.
So, I mean, I'm making that statement, but me simply stating that doesn't make it so. And so we're going to need some assistance from Mr. Gillen and his staff on a quick turnaround to make sure that those errors are not repeated with this upcoming election. And if that means weekends, if that means overtime, if that means bringing outside consultants in, it needs to get done. This is the way that you properly run an election. This is too big not to get right. And so if you have any ideas on how we're going to get this done, this would certainly be the appropriate time to air them. But we can't come around to June 10th or June 18th and be hearing the same reports that people are being given the wrong ballot and casting that and then losing any remedy that's available to them. The fact that it's likely not to have changed an election outcome doesn't change the fact that some citizens were deprived of their right to express their voice at the ballot box. So we need to fix that. That is urgent. That is a thing that I think is on fire, above and beyond anything else that we're dealing with here today. There are some other administrative issues I think would make election day go more smoothly, but that one is absolutely fundamental. And one other thing that I would suggest, we're not going to have 30 items on the ballot this time. We're going to have a much shorter ballot. And this should not ordinarily be necessary. But I think some training for our poll workers for this, encouraging people to make sure that they know what their districts are and to check their ballots. That would be a fallback position to make sure that even if there are errors, that those get corrected for the voters at the time. That needs to be done. I have a couple of other items. I feel like I'm really dominating the floor here, and I've got 4 other colleagues.
Yeah, for those of you who know, I have to speak. Not many of you around 10 years ago when we had a lot of these same issues, when we had redistricting. As a matter of fact, we had a court-ordered re-election that because it happens. Look around, it's not just our county. Nobody's depriving anybody from voting. We're trying our best to make sure everybody gets to vote, as a matter of fact. And how dare you say people come in here and tell us we're depriving your vote? Last year, you were congratulating us on the job we did. These people work their tails off. And what you also need to understand is we have one hand tied behind our back because of the sovereign event we have in our county. We got cut off from the state for a while. We had to go buy new laptops. It didn't affect us at all, not one bit. We were able to vote and vote securely. We will get it right, I promise you. It's going to take some time. And I also encourage you, you stand here and talk about how you lost votes. You know what our turnout was? It was 19%. And I know it doesn't matter to you that it was that low. In District 145, it was 14%.
If one person.
Ma'am, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave the room and continue to have those outbursts.
It was 14%, and I'm not saying those 14% don't matter, don't put words in my mouth. What I'm saying is we need to get more people out to vote. That's what I'm saying. That's what we all should be embarrassed about. We're trying to fix this situation here. We hope the library will be ready by November where we can use that for our senior citizens. That's the plan. It is a long walk. It is a terribly long walk. And we encourage people to go to Theranos Street. And Theranos Street is going to be closed because of kids that game. He's right, we gotta do better. But I just don't want people to think anything was intentionally done with any malice by any other way, but trying to get it right and having a lot of headwinds against us with our cyber attack against the county, which affected us, our use of Wi-Fi. And so that's all I have to say. I'm sorry that some people are disappointed in us, and we'll try to do better.
And the one thing that I would lean on as chair, and that's why I was staying as neutral as possible, us certifying the election by no means says everything went 100% right.
Absolutely.
Us certifying the election says that we got the cards in, we ran through the tabulator, we got in the call votes, we got in the absentee votes. You know, sitting here behind this table and hearing all of this, it almost defeats my grandfather's purpose in this city, who was one of the 5 ministers that started the bus boycott. So I'm like Mike, I'm like Tom, we've got to do better. But we're asking the citizens to give us a chance. And whatever we need to do, that's what we'll do. Because I certainly don't want anybody to think we feel like if someone couldn't vote, we're okay with that. No, we're not okay with that. You know, I don't think anybody on this board, Republican, Democrat, or at large, is okay with that. So I would ask that you bear with us with that, and we will, if there are no further comments, we have.
So, one of the things that was done before we were cut off from the state and all that, when people were voting because we knew there were issues out there, these folks were doing extra work. They were checking 2 databases to make sure the ballot was correct, and if not, it was corrected at that point. Did we catch everyone to begin with? No, but efforts were made to see that everybody got the right ballot once we were aware there was an issue.
And we're gonna thank Tom for their quick action in that, because as soon as someone got one wrong and they were notified, they did go ahead and try to correct that. Yes.
Thank you. I also want to acknowledge my colleague, Mr. Hazard, who served ably as chair last year and was here for small hours in the morning, helping to oversee the process. But I've got several things about making sure that June 18th goes better. One of the issues that we had was that 5 of the 7 early voting memory cards could not be read when we tried to put those into the system. Fortunately, that was not a problem with cards coming in from the precincts for the most part, but 5 of 7 is quite a high failure rate. Do we have any idea why?
I'm not a fan, but we're going to be ordering new memory cards, so that we don't rely on the ones we've been using.
So certainly I wouldn't trust the ones that failed to get into anything important. But I mean, we either have a process problem or we have a vendor problem. And we need to, I mean, that's something where there is a fallback. It's just more work to rescan those ballots. And that was the last bit of work on Tuesday night, which took quite some time.
Can I make a comment on that so everybody understands? When the tabulators are shut down, the tapes are printed, it has votes cast for each candidate, total votes. The card did not read, so we scanned everything, and the scans agreed with what the tabulated tape said, so there was, thank God we did the ballots.
Thank you for that clarification. I think that is an important point.
So what I would like to ask of the election supervisor, since you want us to purchase new cards, if we're gonna purchase new cards, what's gonna be the process so we don't have this happen again?
Probably not use them more in 1 or 2 elections deep, which is after deep line cards, a little more often. I suspect it, due to the cards being used for multiple elections over and over. That's my best guess at this moment.
The question also is, during LMA, can we make sure the cards work?
Right, and they all tested for LMA. And they recorded the results.
Right, I would think they were using the cards.
Tapes all.
Again, just make sure everybody understands.
Right, we just wanna make sure our process is.
No, because Coach State says the process is crucial. Another issue was when we started tabulating absentee ballots, and of course, those were prepared for tabulation during the day as soon as it was legal to do that. We had the vote review panel here, but in terms, while those were prepared for tabulation, they were not tabulated until the last of the precinct cards came in, which was heightened late. And I know that our chair has some experience with this regard. those need to start being tabulated as soon as it's legal, so at 7. And if we need more people here to do that, if there's something that needs to be done to make that feasible, I'm all for that, but it is simply not fair to our vote review panel to keep them here at this late hour. If they want to stay, they're welcome, but we don't need to be forcing them to stick around unnecessarily. So that is something that we can do better.
I would add that part of the process of opening them up is to check them into targets, which we had almost no access to.
Okay.
That's why it was much later than it was in any other.
Okay. Okay. Well, hopefully we'll have that cleared up by June 18th. 2 other issues I have, Madam Chair, and I promise I'll stop after this. One would be is we had a candidate whose name was misspelled on the ballot. Showed up correctly on the sample ballot, was not showing up correctly on the machines. And I have some experience with this very issue because this happened to me 2 years ago when I was a candidate for office. And I have not said a lot about that particular issue at this point because I don't want to use the position on this board to settle what might be perceived as a personal score. The work of this board is too important for that, but this is a problem that has recurred. It is not a one-off. Now we've got a potential solution coming, and the state law is, the General Assembly acted this session, and they did some things I don't particularly love, but one thing they did say is that under the new law, candidates are going to have the opportunity to review proofs of the ballot before it goes live. And that could have prevented this. We don't have nearly as many races, and I want to make sure that for every single race that we have, that we've got the candidates' names right. That has to be perfect. And one last thing, I've heard the complaints about access to Beulah Baptist Church. I don't know what the construction schedule is, but that's something that we need to work with Macon-Bibb County on to make sure that there's not a repeat on the 18th. I mean, that's the kind of thing where theoretically we're partners in this. We should be able to work hand in hand. And I want to make sure. Okay. Okay. But I don't want that kind of obstacle standing in the way of somebody exercising the franchise. So I've got some other thoughts that I can share with the staff, but those are the big things. Those are the things I think we need to deal with if we're going to do better. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I can address the issue at least partially that was brought up, and if what I say here requires more, we need to have another meeting, we can, but I'll do my best if you would like to do so. All right, so as Mr. Ellington correctly pointed out, we're dealing with 21-2-385, subsection D, paragraph 1, subparagraph B, but it's really all paragraph 1. And it says there shall be a period of advance voting that shall commence, and I'll skip A and go to B, as soon as possible prior to a runoff from any general or primary election. Then it goes into a larger paragraph which qualifies both A and B, and this is going to get in the weeds. And it says, and shall end, to finish that sentence, and shall end the Friday immediately prior to each primary election or runoff. Runoff definitely included there. The next sentence, which is sort of a run-on sentence that takes up most, if not all, of the rest of this paragraph. Voting shall be conducted beginning at 9 a.m. and ending on 5 p.m. on weekdays other than observed state holidays during such period, and shall be conducted on the second and third Saturdays during the hours of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And the registrar starts talking about Sundays, or both second and third Sundays prior to a primary or election. Now, what the question is does that qualify as the Sunday voting, or does it qualify as procedure, right? And that is, I think, the issue. I would read it to because it is in conflict, I would read it to not include the runoff, but I agree that it's not very clear, as Mr. Ellington pointed out. And so I do think it warrants a harder opinion But I think that may be where the issue is, because if you can start with just one Saturday, the Saturday immediately before the election, if you would start that late and go forward, obviously, there would be time to have the weekend voting there. So I will get your order opinion. That's, I believe, what the problem may be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, immediately.
All right, now, is our deputy registrar?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We finally got to your part, yes. Other business, staff reports. Thank you.
As of May 24th, 2024, we have 106,172 active voters. That's 106,172 active voters. Inactive voters, 9,519. That's 9,519. On the DDS, we have 2404. 2404. And online voter registration, we have 109. That's 109. And pending, we have 237. Again, that's 237 for pending.
I think you skipped out combined total.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
That's
didn't
okay.
have that.
I'm not a numbers person, so I have to be very careful with that.
I'll get that number for you.
Now we shoot back to you, Mr. Miller. Any legal report?
Madam Chair, I just want to make sure that we mentioned very clearly about their.
Their nursery, yes, yes. And I think it's out on the webpage.
I just want to make sure people understand because of camps.
Camp,
schools,
the
school
kids,
camps.
it was, the camp through the city, they had already put flame on their nursery park, and certainly with the way things are going now, if we can do something different to let the kids have a little space, I would certainly want to do that. So if they're in nursery, yeah, it will be back in November, but at this point for this early voting in June, it will be closed. Okay. We're back down to the space where we do have public comments. Again, we want to hold you to 2 minutes. These chairs are not that comfortable. So we'll start at the back of the room this time. If you would like to make a comment, please raise your hand. Stand.
In regards, making a comment in regards to this.
Public comment, public comment.
Madam Chair, this is more for Attorney Owen. You may find your answer in the preliminary injunction by the Warnock campaign from October 22.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Again, I'm not saying that y'all didn't do a good job, because I know you're probably blowing gaskets if we do, but we appreciate y'all, we really do, and we know it's a hard job, but I can tell you're getting mad. What we're asking is, we're not here for protection for the candidate. The rights of the citizens again. So you're saying, let them certify, and then the candidate has to go and get a lawyer and fight.
No,
There's no crosstalk and no explanation. We're only listening.
I'm sorry.
We're only listening.
I'm sorry.
No question and answer session.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I'll take that back. I'm just saying, if you guys can't say no to a recertify, and that deal, whatever deal it is in the state, all the letters, numbers and everything, why can't those lawmakers come down here and hear us out? That's all I'm asking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, so I understand you guys are under no obligation to respond. I would hope for the citizens of Macon and these candidates that we can get a clear roadmap as it relates to the upcoming election cycle for the runoff on when the very important issue of districts not being corrected will be corrected, or what procedures and what information should we look for so that we can understand that that the due diligence has been done, has been corrected or not corrected before the next runoff starts.
First of all, my name is Elizabeth Barrett. I live in this community. And thank you all for your service with me to go with this. But I'm thinking in my mind, sitting here listening, and then realized that District 8 had the issues with the ballot issue. When I got to the poll to look at it, mine was correct, so I had no reason to think about anybody else, because I really talked to a whole lot of people about the election. But my thought on this is that prior to the actual day of election, coming to our early voting, seems like to me somewhere in my mind, I heard that the ballots were already wrong. So my thing is that the ballot was already wrong. It should have been some way that the citizens should have been told, going to the poll, coming in here, just walking in, say to them, check your ballot carefully, make sure you have the right ballot. If not, come back and let us help you. Sometimes people just need that reminder. So even though this is all hindsight, hopefully when we go forward, we'll have all this corrected. Now my district is in a runoff. And now I have to change my schedule because I want to vote for the person I think is the best candidate in District 8. And I don't do absentee ballot. The only time I done absentee is during COVID. I had no choice. But I don't believe in absentee ballot. I like to come to the poll and do mine in person. I've done all my life, except those times with COVID. So now I'm going to change this up so that I can get here because I have to vote. That is just something I've done ever since I've been eligible to vote. I have to. And I have to do it in person. So I just want to voice my concerns about my district, because my District 8, if my commissioner look out for me in District 8, and Commissioner Luke don't look out for me, my district won't be represented.
And I will say, it's not a rebuttal to any of that, but I will say this. I did several interviews, Tom did several interviews, and there were several write-ups. Give Liz Jarvis credit, because she's always writing for us. We did encourage citizens to check their ballots. And so, right, and that was signing, signing on the machine as well. So we will, like we say, we know that we didn't do everything right. And we will do what we can to get things done correctly. Yes, sir, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson.
How you, Ms. McCoy?
Madam Chair, I want you to look at the map. The maps are wrong, so the combos can never be correct right now. Not even for June the 18th. Even today, they sent my voter card. It said that my state house was 142, which I know is 145. And I just only came up here to show you that. But we cannot get it right. We can't say that we're gonna get it right for the runoff. We haven't even got it right for the primary. That's not fair to the candidates who were in the primary. Because some of them probably had won, but now they're forced to a runoff. So we can't say what's good for the goose ain't good for the chicken. Because that's not right. So I'm saying I want to certify this, because if we go back certified, you're gonna give another person the ammunition that they need to say that they know how to cheat or they cheated. Because they already called me from a certain person camp and said, Ms. Maxwell, how do you feel about this election? Because we see the same thing that happened in Cobb, it's coming to happen to Bibb County. So everybody is watching. If we don't get it right, we might open up a Pandora box that we can't even close. It's not fair to us. Everybody has the right to vote and pick their correct candidate, but those combinations are not gonna be right. I'm telling you right now, they're not. We don't have enough time. The maps are not correct, so your combination cannot be correct. They will have to go in manually and put in each combo for it to be correct.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Jackson.
Madam Chair, thank you, and to the board of election, thank you so much for the work that you did, to our election supervisor and to all of our men and women that make up the Macon-Bibb Board of Elections. I just stand with just 5 things I just want to share with you for your consideration. Number one, thank you, Board Member Ellison, for already addressing the concern regarding to the importance of proofreading the ballots. My name was misspelled on the ballot, so I know that's something that you all will work to ensure that it's corrected as we go into this runoff election. Number two, the precinct location confusion. On the printout paper that you all have in the office, it says Harvest Cathedral, but that Harvest Cathedral location is no more. It's All Line Church, at the formerly known as Harvest Cathedral. And when you enter that address in Google, it provides some information that shows that it's closed and things of that nature. So that can be confusing to a potential voter. So that's something for you to take that for your consideration. Number three, Hazard 1. I hope that as we move to this runoff election, that Hazard 1 is reviewed. I believe there are about maybe 164 voters that are on one particular street in Hazard. I'm sorry.
What street?
1 second, in my time. Nesbitt Drive.
Yes.
Yes. On the day of the election, I had two voters that called me that live on Nesbitt Drive. My neighbor in our district was not on their ballot and should have been. There's again about 164 voters on that district and on that street alone. Thank you to our supervisor for trying to assist me in getting that situated for. But unfortunately, for one of our senior citizens who called me, she was unable to cast her ballot after going over there 3 times due to the, I'm going to call it negligence of the poll manager at that particular location. So I'll just leave that there. Number 4, I hope that we can do a notice to voters impacted by a runoff election so they are aware of the election details.
Your time.
Can someone yield me some time? To my defense, Mr. Kaplan asked a question.
Taking number 5. Taking number 5.
So in regards to that notice, hopefully that we can get sent out to vote to citizens that are impacted by a runoff. Hopefully we can get that mailed out to them. I would suggest that maybe in that letter, notify them that you are in need of accessibility, that you go to the Elaine Lucas Senior Center so they know that that's an option. They also know that their usher is closed. So that's my suggestion. And finally, hopefully, I'm not sure we're going to be able to take action today on whether or not to approve early voting locations, but I know that a holiday is coming up on Monday, so probably earlier you all could meet is Tuesday. Not sure what the time frame of a call means, but hopefully before you all adjourn today, you can go ahead and call that meeting so that we can have that situated for Tuesday, so that early voting can start as soon as possible. And lastly, on those areas that will be having the runoff elections, hopefully we can put our most competent poll managers there. I cannot stress the importance of that, even if that may not be their regular location to lead, but that is very important. Again, thank you so much for your.
Just make a question.
We're not on today.
Let me just say this then. When I was canvassing, on Robin Hood Drive, which is District 8, part of one side of the street votes at Covenant Life and one side of the street votes at Fowler. So if someone could please check to make sure, are all those voters on that street actually in District 8 or part of them in District 9? Because I looked at their voter cards that they brought it to my attention that half of one side of the street voted at 2 different District 9 precinct, and then one voted at District 8 precinct, but I don't know whether or not those voters are actually District 9 or District 8 because they're on the same street. So if you could just check into that to make sure that they vote in the right district, because I think District 8 is in the runoff.
I'm not trying to defend anybody saying anything. You all have to remember, we got, District 145 was a court order district, and we got very late in the year and all that district. So it did get us behind, and we do apologize for that. And we're trying our best to get it right. It happens every 10 years.
I was just concerned about because they were on the same street.
I agree with that, but that could be a result of that too.
Yes, ma'am. I, again, want to thank you, all for calling this meeting and for following what the law says that you have to do. These things are difficult. However, there were significant problems with the previous election that have got to be addressed. And I'm glad to hear that there's a willingness to do that. I just have a few suggestions, and Mr. Jackson mentioned several of them. One is the training. The training, there are numerous people who go to the polls, and this is not just in this previous election, but people who go and they're given wrong information, especially where provisional ballots are concerned. So there needs to be training in addition to the training I think that y'all are mandated to have, aren't you? You all need to go to training. I would suggest, because laws are changing every session. And so you need to have that training so you know what you're talking about if you're going to vote on procedures and practices for citizens. The other thing that I would suggest, and I know my time is going, is that you go ahead and vote to approve Saturday if allowed. And that would take care of that. And you have that already in the works, maybe just a suggestion. The other thing, and finally, there is a need for a citizens advisory committee that can help you to look. You remember when we first did a tour, commissioners did a tour of this building, we made some suggestions at that time. I don't know whether all of them were communicated, obviously some were not, but there's League of Women Voters, there are AKs, there's the Deltas, you got all of these different groups, the Georgia women, all of them, I'm sure would be willing to come and tell you exactly what citizens would like to see as a way of improving on the problems that you have, because this is a big task. And it's got to be done very, very quickly. The ADA stuff has got to be done because we're already in violation of some stuff. So you got to work on that. So that would just be a suggestion. NAACP has a standing committee that works on these kinds of things and could make suggestions. And who knows, those things might alleviate some of the problems. There is also the need for a consultant for our elections process here. I know we've got an attorney, but there is a need for a professional consultant to get us straight.
Thank you.
And so that's all I want to say. Thank you very much.
If I may, and I'm not trying to call anybody out, I'm just trying to restate because I know it had been mentioned earlier, to clarify for the District 7 error versus Jawan's name is being misspelled on the ballot. The reason I bring that back up again, because those two, we're District 7 is also part of that is in his state rep district. The reason I want to re-clarify that, because it's been, because it was said earlier that the names was misspelled. Jawan's name was misspelled, and that was placed in the booth in plain black writing. Mr. Howard's name, first of all, was not misspelled. It listed William Howard, and they said it should have been Bill. And then the difference between what was done with him and Jawan, like I said, Jawan was in plain black writing. His was in black writing, but then circled in red. And and both papers was in the booth, but I don't know how one got circled in red and the other was just in plain black writing saying it was a misspelling. So I just want to clarify, Mr. Howard's name was not misspelled. His government name is William, but he wanted Bill on the ballot. But I mean, everybody know William is Bill, but I guess they didn't, yeah. And then the second thing to clarify with the county commission races, when it got to the county commissioners was at the end of the ballot. And the reason I brought it up, people, once they cast their ballot, they didn't realize till they got to less the county commission was at the end that they was in the wrong district and they was pretty much finished with the ballot at that point. And then when they cast it and told the poll worker, that's when it was said, but we can't correct it because you cast the ballot. So they didn't know to the end that the ballot was incorrect for the county commission district. I just wanted to clarify those two things because I know people were saying two names was misspelled, only one name was misspelled, the other one was William versus Bill. And just like me had a Mike versus Michael, that's just me, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to speak to what some people said about certification and kind of challenge the notion that it's purely ministerial. I think it is when everything matches, then there's the duty to certify. But if there's not, whether it's due to error or fraud, especially if that error, say such as with the people's ballots where their race was, the incorrect race is on the ballot, there would be a duty to make sure that the number of voters is not higher than the margin of victory, because if it was, that could affect the race, and you would pause there. You need to have that in order to certify, because you all take an oath that says, your oath is saying that what we are certifying is absolutely true, accurate will of the people, and there's no power here beyond what the people give. And so I would just kind of challenge that notion that it's always ministerial, because there are times when perhaps there's more that has to be looked into.
No second and third, just.
I'll be a second.
Second.
In regards to the name being wrong in District 7, I know his name was not wrong. I actually went with my husband when he had to get this put in. He had to sign a piece of paper. The person that put it in, typed it in, I'm not saying who, made sure it was certified correctly. He signed it, yes, this is correct. So whoever put bills in, maybe needs to be looking at that form just to see who put that in incorrectly. Typos happen.
Thank you.
Yes.
No more comments? Somebody.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yeah.